Hey everybody, Jim here with another video for you. This is the most recent addition to my Actor Spotlight series. We're going to give some of the ladies some love, and we're going to start off with one of my favorite actresses, Jamie Lee Curtis. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave comments below. Let me know how you feel about Jamie Lee. Let me know what some of your favorite movies are. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis truly has a career that, to me, is quite underrated, to be honest. You could say she was one of the quote-unquote Nepo babies back in the day, because she is the offspring of Hollywood royalty. Her mother was Janet Leigh from Psycho fame, and her father was Tony Curtis from Some Like It Hot and a million other movies. And she started off basically as a scream queen, doing low-budget horror movies. And as the years have gone by, her movies have varied as well as her performances. And finally, she started getting some recognition later in her career, whereas, as a matter of fact, last year, she won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And there's some buzz this year that she may be nominated again for a film that's called The Last Showgirl, which is playing right now with Pamela Anderson. But Jamie Lee is 66 years old. She's also married to Christopher Guest, actor, writer, director Christopher Guest, probably most known for, outside of his own films, playing one of the members of Spinal Tap and as the six-fingered man in A Princess Bride. Those two have been married for over 40 years. But anyway, she's got over 60 credits, and I've got 14 titles with Jamie Lee either in them, or in one case, it's just an honorable mention because she appears strictly as an Easter egg, uncredited appearance as a voice. We're going to start off with that particular one, but I do want to stress before I go down from 14 all the way down, this is basically my own personal criteria. These movies have nothing to do, my rankings have nothing to do with quality of film. There's going to be a couple of, well, we'll get into it. I'm sure there's going to be some people that disagree with my rankings, but without further ado, we're going to start off with that honorable mention I was talking about. And that is John Carpenter's Escape from New York, starring Kurt Russell and Lee Van Cleef and everybody else. I mean, everybody knows how I feel about this movie. And casual fans of this movie might be wondering, what the hell am I talking about? Jamie Lee Curtis isn't in this movie. I didn't see her in that movie. Yeah, you're correct. She does not appear on screen. However, she is the narrator at the very beginning. And as Kurt Russell is going through the processing station, it's her voice that goes over the intercom saying that if you want to terminate your life before you go in, blah, blah, blah. That's Jamie Lee Curtis's voice. So, honorable mention, Escape from New York. Okay, now we've got 13 titles that she's actually either the star of or has a major role in. So from 13 down to 1, we're going to start off with what I feel is the bottom of the barrel in the list. And it is 1980's Prom Night, co-starring Leslie Nielsen, although he kind of disappears. This was one of those slasher movies from the early part of her career that, you know, she was part of that Scream Queen part of her career. And this movie's beloved by horror fans. Now, I loved it when I was a kid. I saw this movie at the drive-in. Hadn't seen it in years until I bought this title from Synapse, and I got it reasonably cheap. And my God, this movie's boring, and there is more disco dancing in this movie than Saturday Night Fever. For that reason, it's number 13. But very close behind, and if Juno, you're watching this, you'll appreciate this, Halloween Ends, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. This is one of those David Gordon Green Halloween movies. I hate this friggin' movie. It sucks. I already went on a rant about how I feel about this movie, so I won't have to do it right now. The only reason why this one is ranked slightly above Prom Night is because of the opening scene with the kid that's being babysat by the main protagonist of the movie, or antagonist of the movie, I should say. That scene, I gotta admit, is awesome, and it totally caught me off guard. And like Ghost Ship, this movie shot its load in the opening scene, and the rest of the movie sucks. Yeah, I do not like this movie. I will never like this movie. If you're a fan of this movie, hey, more power to you. Number 11. Let's keep that Halloween reboot trend alive with Halloween Kills. Now, this one, I don't hate, but this one irritates the piss out of me because it's the most violent out of the newest trilogy. I mean, this movie's gnarly and it's got some great kills. But the whole evil dies tonight chanting shit wears on my last nerve. It's the main reason why I don't go back to this, and it's the main reason why this movie is not the best out of the three, in my opinion. That chanting shit, I mean, if I could mute the movie for half of it, maybe it would be more enjoyable, but my God, I hate that shit. Okay, we're at the top 10. Number 10 is Terror Train, co-starring Ben Johnson and Hart Bochner. Hart Bochner played that douchebag in Die Hard, who was all coked out of his mind. Again, this was one of those early Scream Queen movies, and this one I actually do like. I don't love it, but I do like it. Again, it's kind of boring, but at least this one has some semblance of a story, and there's no disco dancing, or at least very little of it. Number 9 is the first of that reboot trilogy, David Gordon Green's Halloween. Now, when I saw this one originally, I rather enjoyed it. I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. Because you'll see as we go further down the list, I'm not a fan of the other sequels that she appeared in, including H2O and, of course, Resurrection, which is, oh, God. I'm not a big fan of those Halloween sequels outside of the first 3 installments. But this one, like I said, the first time I watched it, I actually really liked it. It's upon repeated viewings that I have a problem with it now. But there's nothing in this movie that irritates me as much as the evil dies tonight chant from Kills. So that's why it's ranked higher. Okay, we've got 8 titles left, and I absolutely love all 8 of these movies. Okay? So from here on out, we're talking gold. This is all gold. Okay? Number 8 is Rian Johnson's Knives Out, starring Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Michael Shannon, Christopher Plummer, Don Johnson, Toni Collette. I mean, this movie's got a murderer's row of actors, and they all, you could tell everybody on set was having a ball spitting out this dialogue and acting amongst each other. I mean, this movie is definitely, it's just a joy to watch. I absolutely adore this movie. Number 7 is John Carpenter's The Fog. This is my Scream Factory steelbook. She got to appear with her mother in this movie, Janet Leigh. This movie also has Hal Holbrook, Tom Atkins, Adrienne Barbeau, John Houseman, and a small role at the beginning. Classic, absolute classic. And I think the steelbook artwork on this Blu-ray from Scream Factory is just sick. I love the colors of it. Great movie. Great movie. Great score. It's one of the most underrated scores in John Carpenter's filmography, in my opinion. Number 6, and this one, again, barely got above The Fog. It was really close. I had to think about it, but we're going with Halloween 2, the original sequel to the original John Carpenter classic. This one is directed by, was it Rick Rosenthal, I believe? Yeah, Rick Rosenthal. Yeah, I pulled that out of my ass. Out of all the sequels, this one's my favorite. It really doesn't need to exist because, quite honestly, you could have ended at part 1 and then just started doing different Halloween type movies like Season of the Witch. But that's not what the studio wanted. They wanted a sequel, so John Carpenter, wrote the script with Deborah Hill, but didn't have anything to do with the direction. But it doesn't matter. I really enjoy this movie, and I'll always love the original experience of watching this theatrically on a double feature with An American Werewolf in London in 1981 on a matinee in a horribly run-down theater with a hole in the roof, and the price of the ticket was 75 cents. Good times. Okay, we are at the top 5. Number 5 is Road Games, directed by Richard Franklin and starring Stacy Keach in what I feel is a career best performance. This is not a horror movie. This is more of a suspense thriller, and in what it really is an homage to Hitchcock. This movie basically is Rear Window in a truck. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. But it is definitely a Hitchcock movie that Brian De Palma and Hitchcock never directed. Richard Franklin was a huge fan of Hitchcock and went on to direct Psycho 2, which is not only one of the best sequels ever made, in my opinion, but I think it's one of the best Hitchcockian movies not directed by Hitchcock. Love, love, love Road Games. Number 4. Now this is where the controversy is going to be, because people are probably expecting this to be number 1. But number 4 on my list is John Carpenter's classic Halloween, co-starring Donald Pleasance, PJ Soles. This movie is a classic. It is one of the greatest horror movies ever made. And I am not disputing how great this movie is, okay? Just because it's number 4 does not mean that I don't love everything about this movie, because I do. This is one of the movies that started my horror fascination, and I absolutely love every frame. But this list is not the best. It is favorite. So I want to bear that in mind, because the next 3 movies, quite honestly, I would rather put on than Halloween. Bearing that in mind, number 3 is A Fish Called Wanda, co-starring John Cleese, Michael Palin, and the incredible Kevin Kline, who won Best Supporting Oscar for this, which doesn't happen with comedies very often, and he deserves it. This one was directed by Charles Creighton. Hilarious, hilarious movie. I wish this movie was available on Blu-ray. It's one of my favorite comedies of the 80s, without a doubt. It's hysterically funny no matter how many times I've seen it. I mean, I've seen this movie so many times I could probably quote it, although in a really, really bad British accent, so I won't even try. But I absolutely adore this movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis, this is one of her best performances. It really is. I love this movie. Number 2 is Trading Places, directed by John Landis and starring Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, and co-starring the late, great Paul Gleason as Mr. Beeks, Ralph Bellamy, and my brain is Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici as the brothers, and of course Denholm Elliott as the butler. This is my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. It's also my favorite Dan Aykroyd. Well, no, it's my second favorite Dan Aykroyd movie. I almost misspoke, because Blues Brothers is still my favorite Dan Aykroyd movie. But without a doubt, my favorite movie, okay, with from the 80s anyways, with Jamie Lee, because seeing this as a 15-year-old, oh my God. I mean, I already had a crush on Jamie Lee Curtis, but there's a certain scene that is very iconic in this movie that made me fall head over heels in love with her, and I still am. But that scene aside, this movie is hilariously funny. It's just an all-time classic. I absolutely adore Trading Places. But number 1 is James Cameron's True Lies, co-starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Arnold, and the late Charlton Heston, and of course, Bill Paxton. Not only is it my favorite Jamie Lee movie, it's damn near my favorite Arnold movie as well, and James Cameron movie. This movie, again, it's just a joy to watch. The chemistry between these two is fantastic, and you wouldn't think it would be. I mean, when I first heard that these two were playing a married couple, I laughed. I was like, really? And they pull it off. And Jamie Lee shows how far her range was back in the day, because one moment she is playing klutzy, the next minute she's playing sexy, the next minute she's actually doing athletic stuff. She is a tour de force in this movie. And I just absolutely love this film. A lot of people have turned against it. They say, you know, it's anti-woman, it's anti-Middle East, it's anti-this, it's anti-that. You know what? One thing it is not anti is anti-fun, because this movie is a ball. So for that reason, and a multitude of other reasons, True Lies is number one on my list of rankings for Jamie Lee Curtis. So to recap, number one is True Lies. Number two is Trading Places. Number three is A Fish Called Wanda. Number four is Halloween. Number five is Road Games. Number six is Halloween 2. 7 is The Fog. 8 is Knives Out. 9 is Halloween 2018. 10 is Terror Train. Sorry for my reach, guys. Number 11 is Halloween Kills. Number 12 is Halloween Ends. Number 13 is Prom Night. And as an honorable mention, Escape from New York. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave comments below. Let me know again how you feel about Jamie Lee Curtis. What are some of your favorite movies of hers that I don't have? Before I sign off, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow, as I film this, so tomorrow, Tuesday, which would be the 14th of January, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, will be the next live episode of Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. We're going to be recapping 2024, giving our top 5 movies of the year, including our top 5 first watches, and we might throw a couple other curveballs in. And I hope you all join us on that. You can find that at the Talking Movies 2024 channel or at Sean's channel at MovieAssault, and I will be leaving the links below in the description of this video. So once again, everybody, I want to thank you for watching and sharing, and we'll catch you on the next one.